The meeting room floated in the darkness of space. Outside the large windows, stars spread across the black like scattered diamonds. Inside, Dr. Sarah Chen stood with her team waiting. She smoothed down her blue uniform jacket and took a deep breath. This was it. Humanity's first real contact with another space-traveling species. The doors opened with a soft hiss. Sarah's breath caught in her throat. The Calrics walked in on 6 powerful legs. They looked like wolves, but larger, much larger. Their fur shifted between gray and silver, catching the light in strange ways. But their eyes were what held Sarah's attention. Those eyes glowed with a soft blue light, intelligent and measuring. "Welcome," Sarah said, speaking slowly and clearly. The translation device on her collar hummed softly. "We are honored to meet you." The lead Calrix dipped his massive head. His name was Krell, and he was the ambassador. Behind him came 3 younger ones, barely adults by their standards. The humans called young Calrics cubs because it seemed to fit. These 3 cubs watched everything with wide, curious eyes. "We thank you for this meeting," Krell said. His voice came out as a deep rumble. The translator made it sound formal and careful. "Your species is new to the stars. We wish to know you better," Sarah smiled. This was going well. Maybe humanity wouldn't be alone in the universe after all. Maybe they could make friends out here among the stars. She moved toward the central table. Her team had prepared gifts, samples of human culture and science. Nothing dangerous, nothing that could be misunderstood. Just tokens of friendship. But as Sarah reached for the first container, the lights flickered. The ship's gravity compensator made a grinding noise. Sarah stumbled. Her hand slammed against the sharp edge of the broken equipment panel. Pain shot through her palm. "Damn," she muttered, pulling her hand back. Blood welled up from a deep cut across her palm. Red drops fell to the white floor, making a pattern like strange flowers. Then everything changed. The 3 young Calrics froze, their glowing eyes fixed on the blood. Their crystalline sensory organs, small structures behind their ears, suddenly blazed with bright light. One of them took a step backward. Another made a sound, something between a whine and a growl. The 3rd cub, the smallest one, whispered something. The translator caught it, made it into words that Sarah would never forget. "That's Apex." The room went silent. Even the ship's normal humming seemed to stop. Krell turned to look at his cubs, then at the blood on the floor. His eyes widened. Sarah saw something she never expected to see in the eyes of a creature that big, that powerful. Fear. "We must go," Krell said suddenly. His voice was tight, controlled. "This meeting is over." "Wait," Sarah said, wrapping her hand in a cloth. "I don't understand. It's just blood." "Just a small cut. I'm fine." But the Calrics were already moving toward the door. The cubs pressed close to Krell, looking back at Sarah like she was a monster from their nightmares. One of them was shaking. "Please," Sarah tried again. "What did he mean?" "What's Apex?" Krell stopped at the door. He looked at her for a long moment. Sarah saw him struggle with something, some internal battle. Finally he spoke. "You do not know what you are," he said quietly. "That makes you even more dangerous." Then they were gone. The doors closed behind them with a final heavy sound. Sarah stood there, her bleeding hand pressed against her chest, trying to understand what had just happened. Captain Martinez came to her side. He was a tall man with gray hair and steady hands. "What the hell was that?" he asked. "I don't know," Sarah said. She looked down at her hand, at the blood seeping through the white cloth. "They saw my blood and they just panicked." "One of them called you Apex," said Dr. James Wilson, the team's linguist. He was already pulling up his data pad, searching through the translation logs. In their language, Apex means predator, top predator, the one that hunts everything else. Sarah laughed, but it came out wrong, too high and nervous. "That's crazy, look at me. I'm 1.6 meters tall. I don't have claws or fangs. Humans are weak compared to most species we've met. We're not apex predators," but even as she said it, something cold settled in her stomach. The way those cubs had looked at her, the fear in Krell's eyes. They had seen something in her blood, something that terrified them. "We need to find out what they saw," Martinez said. He was already moving toward the communication station. "I'll try to contact their ship. Maybe we can smooth this over." But the Calric ship was already moving away. On the screens, Sarah watched it grow smaller and smaller until it was just another point of light among the stars. They didn't answer any calls. They didn't send any messages. They just ran. The next few hours were chaos. Reports flew back to Earth, scientists argued. Politicians demanded answers. Everyone wanted to know why first contact had failed so badly. Sarah sat in the medical bay while a doctor stitched up her hand. The cut wasn't deep, not really. It would heal in a few days, but she couldn't stop thinking about the cubs' faces. Couldn't stop hearing that whisper, "That's Apex." Late that night, Sarah stood alone in the observation deck. Earth hung in the distance, a blue and white marble against the black. Home, the cradle of humanity. A world where humans had climbed to the top, yes, but slowly, over millions of years, through intelligence and tools and cooperation, not through fangs and claws. So why had the Calrix run? What had they seen in her blood that she couldn't see in herself? A message came through on her personal device. It was from an unknown source, heavily encrypted. Sarah almost deleted it, but something made her open it instead. The message was short, in broken galactic standard. "You are not what you think. Your blood carries the truth. The scent of death and domestication. We will tell others. They must know what walks among the stars now. I am sorry, Dr. Chen, you seem kind. But kindness from an apex is the most dangerous thing of all." There was no signature, but Sarah knew it had come from one of the cubs. A warning, or maybe just an explanation. She looked down at her bandaged hand, at the blood hidden beneath clean white cloth. Normal human blood. Oh, positive, the doctor had said. Nothing special, nothing strange, but the Calrix had seen something different. And now they were going to tell the entire galaxy about it. Sarah closed her eyes and leaned her forehead against the cool window. Everything had changed in the space of a few drops of blood. Humanity had reached for the stars looking for friends. Instead, they had apparently introduced themselves as monsters. The question was, were the Calrix wrong? Or did humans just not know themselves as well as they thought? Outside, the stars watched in silence, keeping their secrets. 3 weeks had passed since the Calrix left. 3 weeks of silence from their government. 3 weeks of Sarah watching her career and humanity's hopes for galactic friendship crumble like sand through her fingers. She sat in her laboratory on the moon base, staring at samples of her own blood under a microscope. She had run every test she could think of, every analysis. The blood looked normal, perfectly boringly human. Red cells, white cells, platelets, plasma. Nothing strange. Nothing that screamed monster to anyone looking at it. But the Calrix had seen something. Their crystalline organs had lit up like fire. They had smelled something in her blood that humans couldn't detect. The door to her lab opened. Sarah didn't look up. She knew the footsteps. Dr. Wilson still trying to help her make sense of everything. "You need to eat," Wilson said, putting a protein bar on her desk. "You've been in here for 16 hours. "Not hungry," Sarah muttered, adjusting the microscope settings. "Sarah?" Wilson's voice was gentle but firm. "Starving yourself won't give you answers." Sarah finally looked up. Wilson looked tired too. They all did. The whole team was struggling with the failure of first contact. But Sarah felt it worst of all. It had been her blood, her hand. Her fault. "I got something," Wilson said, pulling up a chair. "A message. From a Calrix scientist named Vera. She wants to talk to you." "Secretly?" Sarah's heart jumped. "When?" "Now, if you're willing." "Video call, encrypted channel. She says she can explain what happened." 10 minutes later, Sarah sat in a secure communication room. The screen flickered, then cleared. A Calrix face appeared. This one was older, with gray streaks in her silver fur. Her crystalline organs glowed softly like distant stars. "Dr. Chen," Vera said. Her galactic standard was much better than Krell's. "Thank you for answering my call." "Thank you for reaching out," Sarah said. "Please, can you tell me what happened?" "What did your cubs see in my blood?" Vera was quiet for a moment. Then she sighed, a very human-like sound. "You must understand, Dr. Chen, my people, we are hunters. We evolved chasing prey through forests. Our senses are sharp. We can smell fear, smell lies, smell death." "I understand," Sarah said, "but I'm not threatening. Humans aren't very strong compared to most species we've met." "Strength is not what we smelled," Vera said. She leaned closer to her camera. "Our crystalline organs can read chemical markers in blood. These markers tell a story. The story of evolution, of what a species was, what it ate, how it survived." Sarah felt cold. "What story did my blood tell?" Vera's eyes dimmed slightly. "A story that terrified my cubs. And if I'm honest, terrifies me still. She paused. Your blood carries markers of persistence hunting. Do you know what that is? We evolved to chase prey over long distances, Sarah said slowly. To track animals until they collapsed from exhaustion. Yes, Vera said. But you do not understand how rare that is. Most predators are ambush hunters. They hide, they pounce, they kill quickly or give up. Persistence hunters are different. They never stop. They follow and follow and follow until their prey simply cannot run anymore. Sarah's throat felt tight. That's just how we evolved. There is more, Vera continued. Your blood shows you are omnivores. You can eat almost anything. Plants, meat, whatever keeps you alive. This means you can survive anywhere, in any environment. Adaptability, Sarah whispered. The galaxy has never seen adaptability like humans show, Vera said. Most species need specific foods, specific conditions, but you can live in deserts and ice and jungles and mountains. You spread across your entire planet. Every environment, every climate. You did not specialize, you generalized. Sarah thought about Earth, about human cities in the frozen north and the burning deserts, about people living on mountains and in valleys and on islands and on plains. Vera was right. Humans really were everywhere on Earth. But the most disturbing marker, Vera said, and her voice dropped lower, was the trace evidence of domestication. What do you mean? Your evolution is tangled with other species, Vera said. Not prey species, apex species, other predators. She pulled up an image on her screen. It showed a wolf, then a dog. You took wolves, creatures that hunted in packs, creatures that could kill humans easily, and you made them into servants. Into friends, into tools. Sarah stared at the images. She had never thought about it that way before. Dogs were just dogs, part of human life for thousands of years. Man's best friend. You domesticated your competitors, Vera said. You did not kill them all, though you could have. Instead, you changed them, shaped them over generations to serve your needs. The chemical markers show this in your blood, the trace elements of countless species that you consumed, that you bred, that you controlled. We also domesticated food animals, Sarah said weakly. Cows, chickens, pigs. Yes, and that is normal. Many species do that. But you domesticated predators. You domesticated cats, another apex hunter. You made them smaller, tamer, and brought them into your homes. Vera shook her head. Do you see how this looks? You do not just survive. You do not just hunt. You change the world around you. You change other species to fit your needs. Sarah felt sick. She had never thought of human history as scary. But through Vera's eyes, through alien eyes, it looked different. It looked calculated, patient, relentless. We're not monsters, Sarah said. We're just trying to survive like everyone else. I believe you, Vera said. I do not think you are monsters, but you must understand the fear. Humans chase prey until it dies of exhaustion. Humans can survive anywhere. Humans are patient enough to breed other species over hundreds of generations. And humans work together in large groups with complex communication. She listed each trait on her claws. Alone, each trait is manageable. Together, Dr. Chen, you are what every prey species fears. A predator that never stops, never gives up, can eat anything, live anywhere, and has the patience to plan for generations. What about you? Sarah asked. The Calrics are hunters too. We hunt in packs, yes. But we are sprint hunters. We chase, we catch, or we fail and give up. We eat meat, only meat. We need forests, specific temperatures. We do not adapt well. Vera's ears flattened. If food becomes scarce, we starve. If the environment changes, we struggle. But humans? You just change your diet. You move to a new place. You make tools. You keep going. Sarah sat back in her chair. Her mind was spinning. So what happens now? Does the galaxy see us as threats? Vera looked uncomfortable. I sent my report to the Galactic Union. It was my duty. The report explains what our cubs detected. Other scientists are reviewing it now. And? There is debate, Vera said carefully. Some species think humans should be welcomed. They see persistence and cooperation as good traits. But others, she paused. Others remember old stories. Stories of apex predators that spread too far, consumed too much. They want humanity contained, restricted. We haven't done anything wrong, Sarah said. Her voice came out louder than she meant. We're exploring, learning. We're not trying to conquer anyone. I know, Vera said softly. And I will speak for you when I can. But Dr. Chen, you must understand. The galaxy is mostly prey species. Species that evolved running from hunters. When they look at humans, they see something that has never existed before. A persistence hunter that builds starships. A species that tamed wolves and turned them into pets. She leaned back. You asked what apex means. In our language, it means more than just top predator. It means the one that reshapes the world. The one that other species must adapt to, not the other way around. That is what my cub smelled in your blood. Not evil, not cruelty, just inevitability. The call ended soon after. Sarah sat alone in the dark communication room, thinking about wolves and dogs, about humans spreading across Earth like water flowing downhill, finding every crack, filling every space. Wilson found her there an hour later. What did she say? He asked. Sarah looked at him. Really looked at him. Human eyes positioned for depth perception, tracking prey. Human hands made for throwing spears and making tools. Human legs built for running long distances. A human brain that could plan and remember and cooperate with strangers. She said, "We're what we are," Sarah answered. "And the galaxy is afraid of what that means." Wilson sat down beside her. Outside the window, Earth hung in space. Home to 8 billion persistence hunters. 8 billion problem solvers. 8 billion stubborn survivors who never knew when to quit. "What do we do?" Wilson asked. Sarah touched her healed hand, feeling the small scar from the cut. "We prove them wrong," she said. "Or we prove them right. Either way, we keep going, because that's what humans do." Wilson smiled, sad and tired. "That's what they're afraid of." "I know," Sarah said. "I know." Sarah stood before the Galactic Union Council 6 months after the Calrix incident. The council chamber was enormous, a sphere of metal and glass hanging in orbit around a neutral moon. Representatives from 43 species sat in their designated areas, each section modified for their specific needs. Water tanks for the aquatic delphine, heat lamps for the reptilian sauros, gravity wells for the massive cron, and one small section with Earth normal gravity for humans. Just Sarah and 2 diplomats representing all of humanity. The trial had already begun. That was what this felt like. A trial. Dr. Chen, the council speaker, said. She was a Velen, a species that looked like upright mantises with soft purple skin. Her voice was kind but formal. "You have heard the testimony from the Calrix scientists. You have read their reports on human blood chemistry. Do you dispute their findings?" "No," Sarah said. Her voice echoed in the chamber. "Their science is accurate. Human blood does carry those markers. We are persistence hunters. We are omnivores. We did domesticate other predators." A murmur ran through the council. Some species clicked their mandibles. Others shifted nervously. The Calrix delegation, sitting far from the human section, watched her with wary eyes. "Then you acknowledge," said a Kron representative, his voice like grinding rocks, "that humanity is an apex predator species, one that has historically dominated its planet through relentless pursuit and environmental manipulation." "I acknowledge our evolutionary history," Sarah said carefully, "but evolution doesn't determine destiny. Just because we evolved to hunt doesn't mean that's all we are. Doesn't it?" This came from Ambassador Threll, a Vexian who looked like a large armored beetle. His species had suffered in the past from an aggressive predator species on their home world. They had learned fear early. "Your own history shows constant warfare, constant expansion. Your species has been on your planet for a tiny moment in geological time, yet you have already caused the extinction of hundreds of other species." Sarah felt her face flush. That was true. Humanity's environmental record wasn't great. But it wasn't the whole story. "We've also learned," she said. "We created conservation efforts. We brought species back from the brink. We're still learning how to balance our impact." "After the damage was done," Threll shot back. "After you had already spread to every corner of your world." The Velen speaker raised a hand for silence. "Dr. Chen, the council's concern is not judgment of your past. It is assessment of your future. If humanity joins the Galactic Union, you will have access to thousands of habitable worlds, to advanced technology, to resources beyond measure." She paused. "What stops you from doing to the galaxy what you did to Earth?" Sarah had prepared for this question. She and her team had spent months studying, researching, trying to understand what made humans different, and they had found patterns. "Disturbing patterns. May I present my research?" Sarah asked. The speaker nodded. Sarah activated her holo display. An image appeared in the center of the council chamber, visible to all. It showed Earth green and blue and beautiful, "This is my home," Sarah said. "Humans evolved on the plains of Africa. We were not the strongest species, not the fastest, not the most specialized. But we had one advantage: we didn't give up." She changed the image. Now it showed early humans walking across a landscape. We were pursuit predators. We tracked wounded animals for days, sometimes weeks. We followed them until they were too tired to run, until they collapsed. The Calrix delegation shifted uncomfortably. "But here's what most species don't understand," Sarah continued. "Pursuit hunting requires something special. It requires endurance, yes, but it also requires cooperation. One human can't pursue prey for days alone. But a group of humans working together, taking turns tracking, they were unstoppable." She showed images of human evolution, groups gathering around fires, sharing food, teaching children. We learned to work together, to share resources, to take care of the sick and elderly because they carried knowledge. We developed language, complex language, because we needed to coordinate, to plan, to pass down information across generations. "This does not reassure us," Threll said. "Coordinated predators are more dangerous, not less." "I'm getting there," Sarah said. She changed the image again. This time it showed a wolf, then a dog, various breeds from tiny to massive. Yes, we domesticated wolves. We took apex predators and turned them into hundreds of different forms. But why did we do it? She let the question hang in the air. "Not to destroy wolves," she continued, "but to work with them." Early humans realized that wolves and humans hunted in similar ways. Pack tactics, coordination, endurance, so we didn't fight them. We partnered with them. We offered them food and shelter. They offered us their senses and their loyalty. It was cooperation. Cooperation that completely changed their species, pointed out a Delphine representative, her voice bubbling through her water-filled speaker. "You reshaped them to serve you." "Over thousands of years, yes," Sarah admitted. "Through selective breeding." But it wasn't slavery. Dogs chose to stay with us. Even now, dogs and humans have a bond that's unique in Earth's history. We changed each other. Humans became more social, more communicative. Dogs learned to read human expressions, human emotions. She pulled up more images: cats, horses, cattle, even birds. We domesticated many species, but the word domesticate makes it sound cruel. What we really did was create partnerships. Yes, we benefited, but so did they. Dogs spread across the whole world with us. They thrived. Same with cats. Same with horses. The species we partnered with became some of the most successful species on the planet. "Because you protected them," the Velen speaker said. "Because they served your needs." "Yes," Sarah said. "And no, we protected them because we cared about them." Humans form emotional bonds with other species. We keep pets not because they're useful, but because we love them. We rescue injured animals. We create wildlife preserves. We write stories about talking animals and imagine what they think and feel. She changed the image to show humans with various animals: a girl hugging a dog, a man caring for an injured bird, a woman swimming with dolphins. "This is what the chemical markers don't show," Sarah said. "Yes, we're persistence hunters. Yes, we're adaptable. Yes, we're patient enough to reshape our environment over generations. But we're also empathetic. We see ourselves in other species. We care about them." "Pretty words," Threll said. "But your history shows countless wars. Humans killing humans. How can you claim to be empathetic when you wage war on your own kind?" Sarah felt the weight of that question. It was true. Human history was bloody, full of conflicts and cruelty. "We're not perfect," she said quietly. "We've done terrible things, to each other and to other species. But we've also learned from our mistakes. After our worst wars, we created organizations for peace. We wrote laws to protect each other. We developed philosophies about rights and dignity and justice." She pulled up one final image, the Earth photographed from space, the famous blue marble picture. "When we first saw this picture, something changed in human consciousness. We realized how small we were, how fragile our world was. We started thinking about ourselves as one species on one planet, not as separate tribes fighting for territory." She looked around at all the council members. "We're still learning, still making mistakes, but we're trying to be better than our evolution tells us to be." The chamber was quiet. Sarah could hear her own heartbeat in her ears. The Velen speaker spoke first. "You paint a hopeful picture, Dr. Chen. But hope is not evidence. How do we know humans will not simply view the galaxy as new territory to conquer, new species to reshape and control?" Sarah had thought about this question for months. She still didn't have a perfect answer, but she had truth. You don't know, she said. You can't know for certain, just like we don't know if other species might hurt us. That's the risk of any first contact, the risk of any relationship. She straightened her shoulders. But I can tell you this. Humans didn't come to the stars looking for prey. We came looking for friends, for teachers, for partners. We came because we were lonely, because we looked up at the stars and desperately hoped that we weren't alone. Her voice cracked slightly. We hoped there was someone out there who could show us a better way to be, someone who had solved the problems we're still struggling with. We came to learn, not to conquer. Beautiful sentiment, Threll said, but his tone was softer now. But what proof do you offer? Time, Sarah said. Give us time to prove ourselves. Provisional membership with restrictions. Monitor our colonies. Watch how we interact with other species. If we show aggression, if we show the behavior you fear, then remove us from the Union. Quarantine Earth if you must. She looked directly at the Calrix delegation. But if we show cooperation, if we prove that we can be good neighbors, then accept us fully. Trust us the way we're asking you to trust us now. The council debated for hours. Sarah and the human delegation were asked to wait outside. They sat in a stark white room drinking water and not talking much. There was nothing left to say. Everything depended on the decision being made in that council chamber. Finally, they were called back in. The Velen speaker stood. The Galactic Union Council has reached a decision, she said. By a vote of 28 to 15, humanity is granted provisional membership status. Sarah's knees went weak with relief. However, the speaker continued. This membership, the research station hung in orbit around Kepler 442b, a planet the colonists had named New Hope. Sarah stood in the observation deck, watching the sunrise paint the alien world in shades of orange and purple. 3 years had passed since humanity joined the Galactic Union. 3 years of proving themselves, 3 years of walking on eggshells. Dr. Chen, we have a problem, came a voice over her communicator. It was Commander Park, head of station security. He sounded tense. Sarah's stomach dropped. What kind of problem? Long-range sensors picked up a fleet. Vrex warships, 30 of them heading this way. Sarah ran to the command center. The Vrex were an insectoid species, aggressive and territorial. They had been expanding through the outer rim, taking planets and resources. The Galactic Union had been trying to negotiate with them for years, but the Vrex didn't seem interested in talking. In the command center, the main screen showed the approaching fleet. The Vrex ships looked like massive hornets, black and yellow, bristling with weapons. Why would they come here? Sarah asked. New Hope was barely colonized. Just this research station, and a small settlement of 200 humans below, plus 43 aliens from various species, all working on joint research projects. Because you're here, said Zix, one of the Delphine researchers. His tank was near the main console, water rippling as he moved. The Vrex have been vocal about humans. They see you as competition. Competition for what? Sarah asked. We're following all the restrictions. 3 systems only. We're not expanding. You're apex predators, Zix said simply. The Vrex are too. They're hive hunters bred for war and expansion. They see humans as a threat to their dominance. Commander Park was already on the communication system, sending distress signals to the nearest Union fleet. The closest Union ships are 6 hours away, he reported. The Vrex will be here in 2. Sarah felt cold. 200 humans, 43 aliens. Against 30 warships, evacuate the planet, she ordered. Get everyone up to the station. The station can't hold everyone, Park said, and it definitely can't fight off 30 warships. Sarah looked at the screen, at the approaching fleet. Her mind was racing. Humans had been so careful for 3 years. No aggression, no expansion, no mistakes. And now the Vrex were coming anyway, probably to make an example of them, to show the galaxy that humans weren't as tough as everyone feared. Send a message to the Vrex, Sarah said. Tell them this is a peaceful research station. We have multiple species here, not just humans. Attacking us would violate Union law. Park sent the message. They waited. No response came. They don't care, Zix said quietly. The Vrex follow their own laws. Might makes right. Territory belongs to whoever can take it. Sarah clenched her fists. This was exactly what the Galactic Union had feared. Humans forced into a violent situation. If they fought, it would confirm every suspicion. If they didn't, everyone on the station would die. The evacuation began. Shuttles flew up from New Hope, packed with researchers and colonists, children crying, people grabbing whatever they could carry. The station's docking bays filled quickly. Station shields at maximum, Park reported. Not that it will matter. Those Vrex ships have enough firepower to crack a moon. Sarah watched the tactical display. The Vrex fleet was spreading out, surrounding the station. Classic Predator behavior. Cut off escape routes, then close in for the kill, her communicator chimed. It was Ambassador Krell, the Calrix who had fled from her blood 3 years ago. Dr. Chen, we're monitoring the situation. A Union fleet is coming, but they won't arrive in time. I know, Sarah said. I must ask you something, Krell said, and his voice was heavy. What will you do? Will you fight? Sarah looked around the command center, at the humans working frantically at their stations, at the alien researchers, terrified but standing with their human colleagues, at Commander Park, a soldier who hadn't seen real combat in 20 years, preparing to face an overwhelming enemy. What choice do we have? She asked. You could surrender, Krell said. The Vrex might take prisoners, or they might kill everyone anyway, Sarah said. We can't risk it. Then you will fight, Krell said. It wasn't a question. We'll do what we have to do to protect everyone on this station, Sarah said firmly. There was a long silence. Then Krell spoke again. This is what we feared. Humans forced into a corner. Apex predators with no way out. I don't have time for philosophy right now, Sarah snapped. I'm not philosophizing, Krell said. I'm warning you. If you fight the way your evolution tells you to fight, you will terrify the galaxy more than the Vrex ever could. The connection cut off. Sarah stared at the screen. The Vrex fleet was 15 minutes away. Commander Park, she said, get me tactical options. Park pulled up the station's defenses. They were minimal. This was a research station, not a military base. A few point defense lasers, some electronic countermeasures. The station's shields could take maybe 3 or 4 direct hits before failing. We can't win this fight, Park said bluntly. Best case, we hold out long enough for some people to escape in the shuttles. How many could we save? Sarah asked. Maybe 30 people. If we're lucky. If the Vrex let them go. 30 out of 243. Sarah felt sick. She looked at the display again, really studying it. The Vrex fleet was spreading into an envelopment formation. Very organized. Very efficient. They would hit the station from all sides simultaneously, overwhelming the shields in seconds. But something about the formation bothered her. It was too perfect, too symmetrical. Their hive mind coordinated, Sarah muttered. All 30 ships thinking as one. That makes them stronger, Park said. Or more predictable, Sarah countered. She pulled up the tactical map showing the projected attack vectors. Look, they're spreading evenly. Perfect spacing. Perfect timing. They're going to hit us all at once from all directions. So they're thinking like a hive. One brain controlling 30 ships. Which means... Sarah's mind was racing now, falling into old patterns. Pursuit predator patterns. Which means if we disrupt their coordination, we disrupt everything. Park leaned forward. How? Electronic warfare, Sarah said. Focus everything we have on jamming their communications. Don't try to hurt the ships. Just blind them to each other. That won't stop them from shooting, Park pointed out. No, but it will make them hesitate. Hive minds are efficient, but they're not independent. Take away their coordination, and they'll have to rely on individual ship commanders. It will slow them down. For maybe 30 seconds, Park said. Then what? Then we run, Sarah said. She pulled up the star charts. We can't fight 30 warships. But we don't have to. We just have to survive until the Union fleet arrives. So we jam their communications, we run, and we keep running. A pursuit, Zix said from his tank. His voice was quiet, almost awed. You're going to lead them on a pursuit. Sarah looked at him. Is that wrong? It's very human, Zix said. Most species would stand and fight or surrender. Only humans would think to run for 6 hours straight. Will it work? Sarah asked. I don't know, Zix admitted. The Vrex are fast. But they're sprint hunters. They're designed for quick, overwhelming attacks, not long chases. Then we'll find out, Sarah said. She turned to Park. Get everyone on board. Prepare to break orbit the second those shuttles dock. The next 10 minutes were chaos. The last shuttles arrived, packed beyond capacity. Families squeezed into cargo holds. Researchers carried equipment and data. Everyone who could fit onto the station crammed inside. The Vrex fleet was 5 minutes away. Sarah stood on the bridge, hands gripping the railing. "All personnel secure?" she asked. "As secure as they're going to be," Park reported. "Engineering, I need everything you can give me. Shields, engines, whatever. We're about to run like hell." The chief engineer, a woman named Torres, laughed nervously. "Never thought I'd be racing warships in a research station." "Neither did I," Sarah admitted. The Vrex fleet arrived, 30 massive ships surrounding the station. For a moment, everything was still. Sarah could imagine the Vrex hive mind analyzing the situation, preparing to strike. "Now," Sarah said. The station's electronic warfare suite activated, flooding every frequency with noise and interference. The Vrex formation wavered. Ships drifted slightly off their marks, coordination disrupted. "Go," Sarah shouted. The station's engines fired. It wasn't graceful. Research stations weren't built for speed. But Torres had diverted every spare joule of power to the engines. The station lurched forward, breaking orbit, racing away from New Hope. Behind them, the Vrex ships hesitated. Just for a moment. Just long enough. Then they came after them. "They're faster than us," Park reported, watching the sensors. "They'll catch up in 20 minutes. Then we change course," Sarah said. "Hard to starboard. Use New Hope's gravity well to slingshot us." The station swung around the planet, using its gravity to boost their speed. The Vrex followed, but they had to adjust their formation, slow down slightly to make the turn. Time gained. 3 minutes, Park said. "We need 6 hours," Sarah said. "So we keep doing this. Keep making them adjust. Keep making them hesitate," and so began. The Galactic Union Council chamber was different this time. Less formal. More tense. Sarah stood in the same spot she had stood 3 years ago, but everything had changed. The attack on New Hope Station had rippled through the galaxy like a stone thrown into still water. Around her, representatives from 57 species watched. More species than before. Everyone wanted to see what would happen to humanity after the Vrex incident. "Dr. Chen," the Velen speaker said. Her voice was careful, measured. "The Council has reviewed the recordings from New Hope Station. We have analyzed your actions during the Vrex attack." Sarah stood straight, hands clasped behind her back. She had spent the last 2 weeks preparing for this moment. Humanity's provisional membership was under review. This could go either way. "Your first instinct was not to fight," the speaker continued. "That is noted with approval. However, your tactics during the escape have raised concerns among certain council members." Ambassador Threll stood. The Vexans still didn't trust humans. "You led the Vrex on a 6-hour pursuit. You used every advantage of the terrain. You adapted constantly. It was a masterful display of persistence hunting tactics." "We were trying to survive," Sarah said, "not hunt." "The result is the same," Threll said. "You exhausted your pursuers. You outlasted them. You demonstrated exactly the kind of relentless persistence that makes predator species dangerous." A murmur ran through the council, some species clicking agreement, others remaining silent. But then Ambassador Krell stood. The Calrix had been quiet during the previous debates, watching from a distance. Now he stepped forward. "The Vexen is correct," Krell said. "Humans did demonstrate persistence hunting tactics. But Threll's analysis is incomplete." All eyes turned to the large, wolf-like alien. "I have spent the last 3 years studying humans," Krell continued. "Not their biology, not their chemistry, their choices, their behavior. And I have learned something important." He activated a holographic display. It showed footage from the New Hope evacuation. Sarah recognized it. The desperate scramble to get everyone aboard. "Look at this moment," Krell said. The image froze on a human woman, lifting a Soros child into a shuttle. The child wasn't her species. Wasn't even similar to her biology. But she was saving it anyway, and this, another image. A human man sharing his oxygen mask with a Delphine whose tank had cracked. The man's face was turning blue from lack of air, but he kept helping. And this, a human engineer, staying behind to manually operate the airlock so others could escape faster. Risking her own life. "Humans ran from the Vrex," Krell said. "Yes, they used persistence tactics, yes, but they did not run alone. They took everyone with them. Every human, every alien, every child. They could have evacuated just the humans and run faster. They could have left the aliens behind to save themselves." He looked directly at Sarah. "But they didn't. When humans had to choose between their survival instinct and their compassion, they chose compassion, even when it meant greater risk." The chamber was silent. This is what I did not understand 3 years ago, Krell said. When I saw Dr. Chen's blood, when our cubs smelled apex predator, we assumed the worst. We assumed humans would dominate, would consume, would conquer. He turned to address the full council. But we missed something crucial. Humans did domesticate other predators. They domesticated wolves. But the humans also changed themselves. They bred wolves to be gentler, more cooperative, and in doing so they became gentler and more cooperative too. Your point? Threll demanded. My point is that humans are apex predators who chose a different path, Krell said. They have the instincts for pursuit, for dominance, for territory, but they also have instincts for empathy, for cooperation, for protecting the weak. And when those instincts conflict, they choose the latter. He gestured to Sarah. Dr. Chen could have fought the Vrex. Humans have been developing weapons in secret, yes? Studying Galactic Union technology? Sarah felt her face flush. That was technically true, though it was just research. But she chose to run instead, Krell continued. She chose the option that risked human lives to save alien lives. She chose cooperation over aggression. Zix, the Delphine researcher, activated his speaker, if I may add to Ambassador Krell's statement. I was on New Hope Station during the attack. I watched humans coordinate the evacuation. They were efficient, yes. Organized, yes. But also kind. His tank rippled with emotion. A human child gave me her favorite toy because I was scared. She was terrified herself, but she wanted to make me feel better. That is not predator behavior. That is something else. It's pack behavior, said a new voice. Sarah turned to see a Calric she didn't recognize enter the chamber. It was Vera, the scientist, who had first explained the blood markers to her. Forgive my interruption, Vera said, but I have new research to present. She activated her own display. It showed complex chemical formulas and biological data. I have spent 3 years studying not just human biology, but the biology of species humans have domesticated. Dogs, cats, horses, and I found something remarkable. She highlighted certain compounds. These species show elevated levels of oxytocin and decreased cortisol responses to humans. They are chemically bonded to humans, but humans show the same changes toward these species. We already know humans bond with their domesticated animals, Threll said impatiently. Yes, but you don't understand the implications, Vera said. Humans didn't just change other species. They changed themselves. Over thousands of years of living with dogs, human biology adapted. They became better at reading emotions, better at cooperation, better at empathy. She pulled up images of human brains. Humans who interact with dogs show activation in the same brain regions that activate when they interact with their own children. They literally see other species as family. This is why humans rescued everyone from New Hope Station, Vera concluded. Not because they're soft or weak, but because their evolution made them see all pack members as worth saving. And to humans, everyone becomes part of their pack eventually. The council chamber erupted in discussion. Species arguing with each other, some convinced, some skeptical. Sarah stood quietly listening. She thought about her childhood dog, Max, a golden retriever who had been her best friend for 15 years. She thought about the Soros researchers on New Hope, who had taught her about their homeworld, the Delphine who had helped her understand water chemistry, the Calrix cubs who had been so frightened of her. They had all become part of her pack, hadn't they? Part of the group she would protect. The Velen speaker called for order. The council will now vote, she announced. The question before us is clear. Should humanity's provisional membership be made permanent? Or should restrictions continue? The voting took an hour. Sarah watched the display as numbers climbed. Species casting their decisions, some quickly, some after long deliberation. Finally, the speaker announced the results. By a vote of 42 to 15, humanity is granted full membership in the Galactic Union. Sarah's legs nearly gave out. Full membership, not provisional, not restricted, full. However, the speaker continued, and Sarah's heart sank. This membership comes with expectations. Humanity has demonstrated both the capacity for persistence and the capacity for compassion. The council expects you to continue demonstrating the latter. We will, Sarah said. Her voice was shaking. I promise you we will. See that you do, the speaker said. But she was smiling, mandibles clicking softly. Welcome to the Union, Dr. Chen. Truly welcome this time. The chamber cleared slowly. Representatives coming up to Sarah, offering congratulations or warnings. Threll approached last. I still have concerns, the Vexen said bluntly. But Krell and Vera made good points. I will be watching humanity closely. That's fair, Sarah said. We'll be watching ourselves too. Thrall's antennae twitched. What Sarah had learned was his version of a laugh. I suppose that's all we can ask. Later, Sarah stood in the observation deck again, looking at Earth in the distance. She wasn't alone this time. Krell stood beside her, his massive form somehow seeming less intimidating now. Thank you, Sarah said, for speaking up. For understanding. I almost didn't, Krell admitted. 3 years ago I was terrified of humans. My cubs still have nightmares. I'm sorry, Sarah said. Don't be, Krell said. Fear was the appropriate response to what we sensed. You are apex predators. That doesn't change. But we understand now that apex doesn't mean alone. It doesn't mean cruel. He looked down at her. Your species chose to domesticate yourselves along with your wolves. You chose to make yourselves more cooperative, more empathetic, more connected. That was not inevitable. That was a choice. It was survival, Sarah said. Humans who cooperated survived better than humans who didn't. Natural selection. Perhaps, Krell said. But you continued choosing cooperation even after you dominated your planet. Even when you could have been cruel, you tried to be kind. Most of the time. He paused. That is not natural selection. That is will. That is deciding what kind of species you want to be. Sarah thought about that. About humanity's long bloody history. About wars and cruelty and environmental destruction. But also about art and music and medicine. About people helping strangers. About children giving toys to scared aliens.